And I had everybody go fast forward.
To get the end back and hold you just, you have to go on down, go car here, going H, across. Like a whole new world. As you cross, yeah.
Oh, that's gonna be fantastic.
Go all the way around. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Minutes, all the minutes.
Okay.
We're moving right along. No conflicts. Any public comment? Hearing none, we'll go to receive information from supervisors not seated. Anybody that, okay. Update from our illustrious administrator.
Just a couple of updates on some items that you all are familiar with or interested in. COVID, in case you're wondering, from a statistical standpoint, we dropped down pretty quickly for a while. We were down low. April is double what it was in March. So we have seen a slight resurgence. It's not like before. It's not nearly as high. It kind of plateaued now, and it's leveling or even dropping, at least in my assessment. But it's still a little higher than it was. So we got to keep our eye on that. The economy, we continue to knock on wood for our local economy. Our sales tax for April is actually about now 10% or 9% above what it was last year through April. It's been fluctuating this year, but we got to be cautious with it because a lot of that we think is due to the relief funds that we're getting from the federal government and the state government. People are spending it, and we still have the effect of people from the cities, cabin people. They're spending their time up here working. They're spending money, that type of thing. So, but so far we're feeling good, but we're also very cautious about sooner or later that's going to catch up with us. You know, all this funding coming from the feds, and we could see it drop. Related, I think, to this area, our Parks and Trails Department. I've got a quick tour with Mo not too long ago. You're going to see some substantial improvements in our parks. We're going to put in some manpower, a little money to try and spruce those up, brand them a little better. And I think starting here toward the end of May, we'll be inviting some supervisors or all of you out to Apple River Park as kind of our first efforts to clean that up, make it look a little snazzier and more useful to the public. That's all I have for right now.
What's that Kennedy Dam? Did we do some improvements there?
It is scheduled to do some improvements on Kennedy Dam.
The Kennedy Dam, the mitigation was already done for the laking portion of it. They put in some weeping pipes in there. We'll let the water go through the piping versus through the dam. That's been complete last year.
Okay. Commissioner Murray, do you have anything?
Yes, sir. Just a couple updates. The Highway 65 project, it is still open for public comment. I did reach out to WisDOT again with the concerns of the three hills. The F intersection, the west intersection of F did make the safety improvement project, so that one is being looked at and designed for change. The hill just north and south of the east intersection there by Larson's and that, WisDOT is still not looking at those right now. I do have comment forms here for you guys. You still have till May 7th to comment on them and mail them to Beth Cunningham for that. The reply I got back from the state on my concerns for those was the answer is still the same at this point. But we'll, as before that you sent in, but we'll send it on to our traffic folks still. So if you would, you can fill this out and address it to the state, your concerns on those two hills, or any other area on 65, and still have time to mail them for that. So
I didn't get that.
I'll have these for you.
Well, almost before you were born, that one by Larson is still known as Suicide Hill.
Yeah.
Sheriff, I don't know if you want one. 65 address project. Along with that also, we're starting to kick off projects right now. We just finished up bridge inspections. We have two bridges that came in that are gonna change here. One bridge up in Lorraine, 357th Street. The cap on that one is totally crushed now on one side. So our options are to knock that bridge down to one lane or post it at 10 tons. Talk to the town chairman and the bridge inspectors. That'll probably get posted at 10 tons here shortly, and leave it open the same width. The other bridge is on County W over McKenzie Creek there, just east of the Dwayne Lynn pit. Right there, we have 3 wing walls that are failing and a couple piles that are hollow. So I'm waiting on the load posting for that one. That will get posted. Both these bridges will go into the federal project program for replacement when that program is released in July. So those will be my next 2 that I submit for replacement in the next 3 years. On that, had a hiccup right now that came through today on the Church Road Bridge, the redecking of that bridge. There's a burial site on one end of the bridge and an arc site on the other end of the bridge. So we have to jump through a few more hoops going through that one. It'll delay. The design was supposed to be completed by August. It will probably go to a November let right now on that one. County Road M, as I told you the last meeting, we were waiting on the next bid results after the state canceled the other ones. The new bids came in. It's another $100,000 over the estimate again. So we're $500,000 over estimates. The state is not giving us any more money for this. So I'm working with the state and the engineers on mitigation to try to cut some costs on that. And what I'm looking at right now is I have one culvert there that's in decent shape. It's just a little rusty. It's fine. We'll line that at a later date. That'll save us about $80,000. In the project, they had us doing the culverts under traffic. So we had to shore them up, do shoring, build a road around them, and then flip them back and forth to keep them going. Got the state to agree to do a detour instead for the rest of those culverts. That'll save another, hopefully around 90,000 at that point. We're not sure on those numbers yet. The other one the state agreed to is to change the way they test for the hot mix asphalt. They put in here the new testing requirement. It's called PWL, where the paver has to do test strips, what they're going to put down on the road, and then they sample core them at a different location and do that, versus just the standard doing density tests as the road goes down. That right there will save us $143,000 just changing that testing procedure. So I'm cutting costs right now on that project, right around 263,000 to about 300,000. So I'll only be on the hook for an extra 100,000 on that one. And I will defer the chip seal. I was going to chip seal M from Nye to Osceola. I'm going to defer that project to a later date, and that'll cover that savings on that project. So we'll come in and cover those costs right now. So that's kind of the update right now on projects going right now.
And will get done this
Yes.
year. I heard that.
Where'd you hear it? Okay, anybody else have any questions? Everything else? Very good, thank you.
Just remember, road school's coming up the first week in
Yep. Getting it straightened out. Sheriff.
We're at this week at the Sheriff's Office. We're proudly celebrating National Corrections Officer Week. Every year, the first week in May, we acknowledge the fine work that the men and women in the Polk County Jail do. We do that by celebrating. We get a cake, a lot of food, a lot of treats. All the divisions kind of chip in and decorate some of the doors up and just pay respect to the position. You know, largely law enforcement jobs feel sometimes thankless, but when we work with a lot of fun people and roll out the celebration. Last year with COVID, we didn't do anything because we were, and we're still trying to do it safely. But at the end of the day, we have to acknowledge the fine work they do.
What time is that cake?
That cake is over there and it's for our employees, John. So that's a good segue to what's going on in the jail. Our captain resigned. Captain Rob Drew was with us almost 4 years, and he's taken a job in the private sector. And I want to thank him for the service he's provided us. Rob was brought in because the former administrator was moved out, and Rob has really transformed the jail and taken us in the right direction. So I thank him for his service. And then with that, we're going to be filling his position from inside because we feel we have a lot of talent in-house, and we hope we can find the right person for that. So that will be posted, I believe, probably this week. We'll get that rolling. And we are looking at purchasing for in the jail through a grant through COVID funds, a body scanner. And what that is it's a way to ensure contraband is not getting in your jail. And that's to the tune of about $150,000, but we hope to get a grant and then we'll be in good shape. We've had a lot of meth get into the jail, unfortunately, this year. We've had some people that smuggle it in when they get arrested, and this is a way to prevent that. So I would also like to point out that the county was recently released from litigation involving search in the jail. So the body scanner is another layer of protection for us for search processes. So that's a good thing. With the captain leaving, we also had a jailer and a dispatcher leave to go work private construction jobs. So I encourage the county to look at getting competitive with benefits and wages, because like I say, at the end of the day, it's so hard to replace our public safety employees, and we are losing them to the private world. And that's frustrating as the sheriff to see anybody go out the door, because the training process is so long to get somebody trained up. So when somebody resigns, we're set back at least 6 months just on filling a position, because we have to go through a process to hire, then we have to train them up, and that train up takes months. So it is a setback. The busy season is here. We had the fishing opener, and again, the county population swells on these weekends, so we see an uptick in activity, but we get through it, we deal with it. But it is a situation where the summer brings the busy, crazy stuff. So we're prepared for that. Next week kicks off Police Week. So 2 weeks ago, we celebrated the Dispatchers Week. Then we had Administrative Professionals Day, and this week was Corrections Week. And now next week we finish with Police Week. And that's a special time. I will be attending a memorial service that Burnett County holds to honor both Alan Albee and Mike Severson. That'll be up in Siren, and I look forward to attending that. And I'm actually going to bring Mike's sister along for that too. So that's a special time. Any questions?
There's still a Mike Severson Scholarship Fund.
There is. There's a committee, absolutely. And they've given out thousands of dollars to anybody who pursues a career in law enforcement, first responding, EMS, or medical field. Because Mike had such positive influences in his life when he was at these hospitals. So if you're pursuing a nursing degree or anything like that, through the schools in Polk County, they do award a scholarship in his honor.
He said the wage advertisement for the people.
It comes down to ultimately the county.
We do market studies for all our wages, and we set our wages based on market study from our comparison.
That was my 8-year battle with Dr. Fry. So much. You aren't going to get quality people for the hourly wage that you're paying them for. I mean, it wasn't even competitive, and I think it showed it. I mean, you get what you pay for, and to get these people to come and work in the jail, they got to get top wage.
Well, and the reality of it is the nationwide scrutiny on law enforcement is going to have a long-term effect where young people do not want to pursue this career. So to keep the current people we have happy, and we have to find a way to break through this and do some recruiting. And that's something we're always thinking about. And at the end of the day, the last deputy position, we had 5 people take the test. That's the all-time low. 20 years ago, we would have to hold the testing at school cafeterias because we didn't have a county building big enough. Now we're down to 5 people. So the hurdle for law enforcement and county government officials will be recruiting. And I think you can draw that line across a lot of the government jobs, but at the end of the day, when there's this much public scrutiny on law enforcement, we are seeing that already have an impact on our recruitment.
I think it's gonna get like our nurses position where you gotta get to the high school level and
Yep.
provide some incentive.
Yep, and at the end of the day, this is still a great line of work. I wouldn't change anything that I've done, but it's unfortunately there's 2 different worlds. There's a urban world and a rural world. We're very lucky to live and work in Polk County, I'll say that much.
Thank you very much.
Doug, this comes back from a couple of years ago, so it's by memory, so I'll have you fill in. But I know when I walked with the jail captain, Rob, he was talking about retirement. They weren't under the same program or no program that the law enforcement. It came down to the state level.
Yeah, that is part of it. We do have very few employees though that were ever really impacted by that now, but that would be an incentive. And at the end of the day, those bills get proposed at the state level. And I would like to see those bills get through, but there's hurdles there as well. But that is certainly something that would tip the scales as well. That wouldn't necessarily fix all the issues with recruiting, but any way you can make this more appealing and make it more desirable.
Well,
I would also say that normally in June, we do the tour of the jail. I think we'll try to push that to July if that's okay, because then we could have on board the new jail administrator. And I think that would be a good opportunity for the new jail captain to, show the facility off and you to get to know who that person is. So I think we'll move to try to do that in July if that's okay.
good to me. Anybody else have anything? Okay. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Bob, you got something on CJCC?
There's no real updates. I just want to remind everybody, we do have a graduation coming up on the 21st. Lisa Ross sent out the notice to everybody, just in case a quorum is present, but I invite all of you to attend as many as possible for that graduation.
Yeah, I
When
was,
is it?
everybody
Should be
got
6
that,
p.m.
that is listed, that graduation. Okay. All right. Supervisor Rowdy, how have you been doing with your ATV projects?
Like to say, we're doing a great job. It's coming together. The first section, gave you this map. And the red section here is the loop that's out there now. And each part here, there's a dark blue line that comes out of it. And then heads back up to Evergreen. That's going to be forest roads, and that'll be part of the system. And also out of the existing loop, there's 2 kind of yellow roads that go along. Those are existing forest roads also, and they'll be connected to each part of this original trail. Then we also are talking about we need an increased area for parking lot. Because if we can get this to take off, everybody comes with a trailer and you need places to park and use it. So we talked with Mo and with Ben, and July 1st, they've applied for a grant and it should come in effect July 1st. And then we can use that $6,500 to increase the size of the parking lot and put in 4 campsites.
Where's parking lot now?
It just comes right off of Evergreen. You go across the Trade River and see the equestrian park, and then it's right on the north end of that red loop. Yeah, I don't think that shows on here.
Doesn't show.
The other point we had when we were out there, a few have said the same thing. My wife and I went out to kind of look it all over.
You don't have the Perry.
Yeah,
I got
the
you.
signage is
I got
well,
you.
you got a really nice
Yeah.
big Governor Knowles equestrian park sign. And we need something like that because we drove right on by and didn't even see the sign.
Is this all Sterling Township or part of it's East Anderson?
Yes, all Sterling. Then
That borders Anderson,
it'll
right?
go
Right.
north of Evergreen as they keep completing the section. Almost up to the Burnett County line.
And that's at the top.
Yeah, be pretty close to 29 miles, I think they have. laid
That's
out.
Anderson.
Steve, is Anderson below this?
No, right up above.
Yeah, well, you can see the blue loop up in the north and then we're connecting it with this new little part of the forest road.
All Burnett
And a
County?
lot of these sections will be town road because that's the only way we can get it tied together. Then Rick and the group, Danny here, they have, the signs have to be brown on the trail. They can't be blue like a snowmobile. So they had to order brown signs because they don't have brown signs. They should come in next week. And then a group of volunteers will go out there and try and get this first section open. As soon as they get the signs up, then we can open that section of trails.
Great.
Yeah.
Have you got enough volunteers?
Yeah.
Getting them without, you're hitting the clubs and they're responding
There's
quick.
guys out in Sterling that don't belong to clubs, but they're willing to help us, and they're gonna do us some of the maintenance for us too.
He said there was two
Coming together.
volunteers that live out there. And they'd like to do maintenance to keep the trail operational. It's just wonderful.
Great,
Yeah,
good. Okay.
we'll give you an update next month. How much of it.
Moving a lot faster than I expected.
People.
Will some of these trails, will that join like into Anderson and up toward Grantsburg?
Burnett County?
Yeah.
I don't know yet. I've been talking to Polander about that. Once we get this established, and then we can see what county, see, you're running into, when you get into Anderson, a lot of that is, Steve could probably help me too. It's state and federal, there's different, it's not all county land up there. It's a lot of wetland, or because they got all that. What is that lake there? Fish Lake and all that. I think, Steve, isn't it? There isn't a lot of county land, and then you got the Governor Knowles, and they won't let us on. So it's, we've been talking about it to try and figure out how we can get a trail up to Grantsburg. We're still working. I can't see
So
anything,
there isn't any trails in Governor Knowles' portion of it?
not ATVs, no. They won't allow any motorized, that I know. Just snowmobile in the winter time. You can't even get winter use ATV on. Won't even allow that.
That's unfortunate.
We'll work around it. But
And that's all railroad grade in Anderson, all the way up to Polk Road. We're trying.
you're doing good.
You're doing a good job.
Comment.
Go ahead.
I spent a few hours out there fighting wildland fire this last weekend. Claims two of the people that came are horse people that were camping at the horse camp. Say there's fat tire bikes running on their horse trail now. Motorcycles running on. I don't know how you control that. Only thing I seen on the way out to the fire is I met one go-kart and one mini bike with like 6 or 8-year-old kids running them on the blacktop. You know, there's probably gonna be a few hurdles there. Communication's gonna be what you people are doing, how that's gonna affect everything out there. Being able to control what goes on your trail. motorcycles. I seen a group of 6 dirt bikes. They were sitting on the side of the road and talking. So you got some other groups that are gonna come in. They're gonna want it on the trails you make, of course. So I don't know how you're gonna control that, because the dirt bikes are probably the most damaged.
Just in a response, we did discuss some of that today, because about any project you do like this, that's going to come into effect too. So we're not agreeing with you totally. But our response wasn't, I don't know how we have the recreation officer, and we can at least talk to him and alert him of the problems out there because of the trails. Over the years, we had trouble out in summers like the trail there, because it was wet and they tore the whole area up and it was closed. So, we don't want to see these problems.
What kind of trail was tore up?
Summers Lake Trail, they opened it too soon and it was spring and there was a lot of mud. That was open to these dirt bikes. We're talking 20, 25 years ago.
Oh.
I was involved in that back then, and I recall a lot of that soil type wasn't really even suitable, and that area wasn't suitable because it was kind of a clay-like soil and prone to erosion. I can say for like out in Sterling, that's sandy. I used to do patrol out there. I would frequently catch dirt bikes out there, but at the end of the day, there really wasn't any more damage on those trails. And the equipment that the clubs have to maintain those trails, I don't think you'll see any real environmental concerns out there. There has always been a problem on that loop trail with people that like to ride off. There's that little sand dune spot. So I could see increased problems there, but otherwise I think with the amount of equipment they have to maintain it and the maintenance they'll do, I don't think we'll see any problems. But we do have the ability to patrol out there, and we'll certainly do that.
Right. Okay, well, that's good. One thing about getting complaints from somebody other than an ATV person, from horse people, it's kind of a switch. But, at least we do have a better communication group that we can get the word out. They've got their trails. Protect them too. So,
Is there gonna be also some signs like no dirt bikes allowed or something like that, so they got that?
That's been my mind. We haven't
Yeah.
necessarily, but
There'll be,
I think
there'll be what's required or what can ride on them. There'll be signs at the starting point.
It's usually a pretty good deterrent.
knowing other projects is talking to the Luck Club, because of like Bone Lake, where I live, the town chairman has the right to shut it down at any time. Polk has the same right with the town roads or county roads. And they use the theory that if they patrol their own, we can keep it open, have a place to go. So that's part of the patrolling, is to mention to these kids that
And I would also, Mr. Chair, if you don't mind me saying, if any of that trail goes on a gas tax fire lane, you might see motorcycles that are dual sport, where they are actually licensed for road use, but they're more of a dirt
they can
bike.
be there.
So you'll see some of those riding there, and that's perfectly legal.
We are going on some.
And you'll be on some of those fire lanes, and those are gas tax roads, and a licensed motorcycle can ride on those. So it isn't always black and white out there as far as, oh, there's a dirt bike. Sometimes they're legitimate when they're out there.
sure, we'll deal with them as it comes along. Never solve them all before it happens. Okay, thank you, Doug. That's great to hear the progress. Who's gonna handle the discussion on the centerpiece?
Yeah, I can.
You wanna handle that?
Yeah.
Now, it seemed to be a bit of a shock to some of the supervisors that there was such an idea. And I mean, I was aware of it. I read your stuff and
Yeah.
I was aware of it, but a lot of people, this,
Well, this is a concept. It's the early part of a discussion is all it is. And per your discussion, in fact, I recall, we have reached out to the municipalities, the civic leaders and so on to say, what are your thoughts? What are your feedback? The overall general consensus is it's been very positive. There are some groups that are threatened by this and feel like, hey, that might infringe on what we're trying to do. But in reality, we've had a couple of communities already come to us and say, whenever you do this, we want to be considered. I met with the Towns Association, Polk County Towns Association the other day and presented to them. And I just wanted to give you a brief update on that. And then just because somebody, said, hey, I don't know exactly what you're talking about here. So I did a couple of pictures. And these are not to represent Polk County's sports complex, but it's just an idea of what it could be based on what we see other communities doing. So you can go to the first one. And this first one, Sand Mountain, Alabama. So this is a community that did this type of facility. And in their version, they list all these different items on there. And I apologize, we'll get to a better slide here. But it could be an aquatic center, outdoor water park, fitness center, dog parks, amphitheater. And I'm not here to say we're going to do any of those or that we won't do all of them. But rather what we're going to do is start off by looking at this in a broad context. And then I'll show you at the end our process to narrow it down to see what, if anything, would work here in Polk County and what do we want to do? Do we want to keep going forward or do we say this isn't going to work? You can go to the next slide. And so just, again, one example, and I'll show you a few more. 130 acres featuring everything from 3.5 mile trail, baseball fields, tennis courts, recreational leagues go on there. There's also, they have an amphitheater for types of evening events and so on. You can see that's a pretty extensive list. Not to say we would do that, all of it, but you can see kind of the range here. Go to the next one. From an aerial standpoint, that this might give you an idea when we say 130 acres, how they have different ball fields. It's not a great picture. I just pulled these off the internet. They might have a building or a facility to host indoor events, community groups, senior activities, and that sort of thing. But a very thorough, wide complex, which is why it needs so much land. Go to the next one. This one is Sweetwater, Wyoming. And again, I apologize if you can't see it, but they've got there, they have campgrounds, stock car track, motocross track, horse stalls, grandstands over in this area with ball fields in there or an area for any type of competition, indoor arena, trade show, and exhibit hall. So, you say a lot of stuff. What are we going to do there? What will we do here? Well, we'll get to that. You go to the next slide. Again, it's just some of the details on this. You can see their focus was a little bit different. Stock car, campgrounds, motorized sports, monster trucks, those types of things. Speedway. To the next slide. And I apologize, it's probably hard to see, but here, Silver Lakes, California. Now this one, many of these places are located, and the reason they were chosen because they're not in a big city, but they're in between larger cities. So like many of them are an hour and a half from a city, an hour from another city. This is the exception. This was, I guess you'd call it a suburb of Los Angeles, so it probably doesn't apply here. But forget about, we could scale it down. I put this one in here because we had talked about sports fields and then possibly an equestrian center type of thing. That's what they did out there. But they do car shows, horse events, festivals to attract tourism, to bring people into the area. And then they also have private rentals and so on. Next slide. You can just see again, restaurants, some of them have hotels. So, very large complex. Obviously, we'd never be that large, but you could see how they lay these things out. And what we had said, boy, based on the different things, it could be 100 acres, could be up to 200 acres. And then again, it could be as small as a YMCA with a couple of acres. I mean, these types of events are different no matter where you go. And the final slide I'll show you is the next one. Okay. Here's where we are. We're just gathering information. We're looking at examples across the country. And if you recall, the reason we thought of this is we looked at the county goals and we said, what types of things could we do here for this county when we are on the verge of becoming that next county where the metropolitan area, more people are starting to come this direction? And how do we take control of that? The first thing that people always say, and when I was with the EDC or even this job, is how do we get more businesses here? How do we get more workers here? How do we get more homes here so that people that live here have an opportunity to grow and thrive? How do we get more kids in our schools? That type of thing. And so we're looking at this as a way to be a showcase for the county, would draw tourism to the area, would be something to help our children and our schools, get kids involved in sports and activities, their parents involved in sports and activities, and yet also serve as an event center, a recreation center for all ages. Still very early. The next step might be, and we've looked into this, to do a market study. All that market study does, it's not expensive, but they take a look at things like the demographics, the market conditions, what types of facilities are around here, and what types of activities are wanted. That will give us an idea of, is there a demand for this? It's one thing for me and some of the staff to go out and talk to people and say, hey, is this something of interest to you? Right now, people are saying, yeah, well, maybe nice, but if we don't have the economics to back it up or the demand for it, then we can stop it right there. After that, if it comes back and says, boy, there is a significant need for certain types of sports, population, tourists that want to come to this area, then we would go to what they call a feasibility study, which would really narrow down what we're talking about. It could mean in this county what specific sports are going to be available. It could be what types of events are we going to hold. Maybe there won't be an equestrian center. Maybe there won't be outdoor ball fields. It'll just be indoors. Maybe it'll be swimming. But the feasibility study will get much more in depth to say, what does this area need? And I say area because our location is such, we would draw from the Twin Cities, to Eau Claire, to River Falls, to Duluth, because people travel on weekends to go to these events. So that's just an update as to where we are. The way we're looking at this, and I had Tim Anderson kind of type this up, our planner, is we're starting very broad. And if you say, what is it? We don't know yet. But what we are saying is we are getting a sense that people want this type of event or venue, and that if we start out broad, we will start narrowing it. The research says if we don't do it this way, if we just say, hey, we want to do something, we think this will work, 15% of those work. If we do an analysis of it, you can basically, it increases your chances. basically, if you do the good study and it says, hey, this will work at 70%, or we think with 70% certainty, a facility like this will work. So we're not going to do anything out there that is going to take a major risk. We're going to do our analysis if we decide to move forward. So that's just an update, probably more than you wanted to hear. So I thought it'd be nice to see a few pictures of what types of things are out there.
And to consider this is quite a period of time that this would happen this year or next year.
No, it certainly would. Part of the feasibility, you can eliminate those. Like the part of the feasibility study will get more into what the structure of it would be, how will it be organized, how should it be managed? Is it a public-private partnership? Will there be a commission set up? What involvement will the county have versus the private sector? And the companies that do this, like the one in Blaine, the big sports complex, they do that now, and they go all around the country saying, here's how you can set it up. So
That was years coming,
yeah,
many years.
yeah, and I people ask me, when could something like this happen? I think, well, you're probably getting started in a few years, and then another few years, and it would probably be phased in over time.
Great, okay. Better insight. All right. Priorities on transportation and public safety. I don't know where this came from. Have any idea?
Okay, what was that?
Question on consideration of county board priorities, transportation, in transportation and public safety.
Yeah, I think that's a standing item. I think somehow the clerks may have put on the agenda, and that,
He's standing, but it's standing there the first time I've seen it.
well, the thing that, what it may be is on our work schedule, where we made it a point when we set our longer term goals, we said, let's bring these things back up in our committees every so often
I
to keep
think
us
you're
accountable.
absolutely right.
And we actually just addressed that the last two meetings with the presentation from the sheriff's office on the meth issue. And then the CJCC presentation. Those tie back to your priorities for the
All right.
public safety priorities.
This may be something that anybody has anything that would apply, or we could discuss on that. We can do it at any time with bring it up each month. Fine. Our work plan is,
You'll need to adjust the jail tour from June to July. That'll be an alteration in your work.
probably July, we've already discussed that. Okay, any subject matters for the next meeting? If not,
I do have a question for Tim.
go ahead.
What's the schedule on the fair? Is it gonna be going, or is? I've had 4-H clubs ask.
Yeah. That would be a question for the Fair Society.
Okay.
We're not holding them back whatsoever. As far as I know, they're planning on having the fair, but that's certainly up to them.
Yeah, they're printing the books now. They're
Right.
gonna notify the 4-H's, well, they had a meeting on Thursday.
They're well
They'll
organized.
be notifying all the 4-H.
Any other questions? Well,
Motion to adjourn.
motion made and seconded, all in favor? Aye. Next time. Good.